I'm Padmashree Shagrithaya. I head Insights and Data for Capgemini India. I'm part of the Insights and Data, right? I head that, and I, in that sense, speak to a lot of CDOs on a day-to-day basis. The large CDOs, right? So companies which have really large footprints, and the CDOs of those companies necessarily struggle with the fact that the data is scattered all over the place, right? So these are large conglomerates. Now it is going to be in many different countries. First of all, there is a need for them to view all of this data in a singular manner, that it can then make meaningful decision support system for the ultimate customers. The second problem is, because of the fact that it is in various different corners of the world, the data is not tagged evenly. There is no uniformity, there is no homogeneity to the data, right? The data is, there needs to be a way that somebody goes behind it in terms of governance, in terms of data lineage, and so on and so forth, right? So all those problems crop up when the decision is taken to bring this data together to make the outcomes. Like, if you can imagine the data to AI, it's like a pyramid, right? So you have the data engineering of bringing the data together. Then you have the data trust of being able to tag the data, being able to find the data where it is, so on and so forth. And then you finally make use of the data through analytics, data science, and AI, which ultimately goes to the consumers, the ultimate customers within the organization, to be able to consume and make decisions. The problem lies in all the layers, right? The layer, that the first data engineering layer, is about bringing this data together. What data needs to be brought? What data needs to be brought in? What should be let go? Those decisioning to be made basis what kind of decision making needs to be done, what kind of consumption the consumption layer has to be thought in mind. The second problem, all of these, should it be on the cloud? Should it be on-prem? What is going to be the cost of bringing this data together and organizing this data on the cloud, right? So this whole thing of, is the cloud is going to be more beneficial for me actually, or is it going to really cut into my pocket, right, and make it more expensive than what it is already there, right? So those decisions have to be made by the CDO to say, hey, which data, why, how much cost can I spend on this to be able to make the top layer that I talked about to be making it meaningful. Then comes the problem of, oh, now I'm getting this data from all over the place. How do I really bring a homogeneity, as I told you in the beginning, right? How do I bring that homogeneity to this whole thing? How do I tag these data? It is going to be called something in various parts of the world. How do I get this, right? So then the whole question of data quality comes in. That's the bigger challenge. What part of the consumption layer should be looked at from a quality perspective? What from a perspective of, oh, I can let go of the quality, but I need the analytics, or I need some kind of a predictive insight coming out of it, right? So those decisions have to be taken. And then at the top layer as to, what are the real elements of this whole thing in terms of making decisions? Where should I use AI? Where should I use Gen AI? Where should I use simple analytics? All those questions have to be answered, because there's just so much of buzzword going on today with respect to AI and stuff like that. It's important for them to take a call on, what is it that my customer or my organization needs, and therefore how do I, what kind of technique that I use to get there. All these sessions are like, all of the leaders with a lot of experience coming and sharing the real experiences, right? So I was just sitting in one of the sessions here when I was hearing about the real problems of data governance, for instance, right? Who is to own the data? It's a very simple question, but in a real organization, there is this whole thing of, I don't own the data, right? I don't want to be really looking at the quality of this data. So who owns the quality of the data? So all these questions are real questions, but when you're inside an organization, you're the only person looking at it and trying to answer it. However, when you come to such kind of places to understand from others, number one, you know that you're not alone in this. You know that others are also on the same boat, and you start finding answers to many of these questions as to how to solve it. So to that extent, I think these summits are absolutely great. Data to AI space is changing every day. It's not the constant thing like, many of the technologies. And therefore, there is a reason for such summits to happen more frequently, that people come and understand what is the latest and how I can apply it back in my organization.